Okay, so today we are going to look at quadratic equations. So first of all here, quadratic equations are of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So you have already solved these last year using the guide number. So an example of a quadratic equation, I could have 2x squared plus 3x plus 4 is equal to 0, and you could be asked to solve that. So I'm going to show you how to solve those using the formula. So you only looked at how to solve them last year using the guide number method. Okay, so first things first, what you have is the formula. So the formula for a quadratic equation is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to. So when we solve this formula, we'll be finding out my values for x. I use this formula if I'm ever asked to find solve this quadratic equation and it's told give your answer to 2 decimal places. That would be a hint to use my quadratic formula, or if it told me to leave the answer in third form. That basically is telling me that I cannot use the guide number method. If you get stuck using the guide number method or you find it too difficult, this formula will work for every single quadratic equation. So I'm going to run through a few examples here. The first example I have here is 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 is equal to 0, and I'm asked to solve it. Okay, right, my a is always the number in front of the x squared, so my a in this case is 2. My b here is the number in front of my x, which is 5, and then my c is my constant, it is minus 12. You always have to arrange it, girls, to have your x squared, your x and your constant together first. So what I have then is I write down my formula. So I have minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I sub in. So I have minus b, so minus bracket 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 to be squared minus 4 bracket 2 bracket minus 12 all over 2 bracket 2. Okay, so this is x is equal to. Okay, so this is what I'm left with. So minus by a plus, I have x is equal to minus 5 plus or minus the square root. 5 to be squared is 25. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. Minus by minus gives me plus. 8 times 12 gives me plus 96. All over 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so now I have x is equal to minus 5 plus or minus my square root. 25 plus 96 is 121 all over 4. So I have then x is equal to minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 121 is 11 all over 4. Okay, so then I split this bracket up. Okay, I split this function up. So I have x is equal to minus 5 plus 11 over 4, and I have x is equal to minus 5 minus 11 over 4. Because in my formula I have plus and minus. So now I'm actually going to do both of them here. So the first one I have minus 5 plus 11, that gives me 6. So I have x is equal to 6 over 4. I can break that down if I want to have it as x is equal to 3 over 2, or I could say 1.5. Here I have x is equal to minus 5 minus 11, that is minus 16 over 4. Minus 16 divided by 4, I have x is equal to minus 4. That is the sum solved. So I have x is equal to 3 over 2 or x is equal to minus 4. So that's the quadratic solved. I'll go through another example now. Okay, so here is my next example. So in this example it says solved 2 decimal places 8x squared minus x minus 5 is equal to 0. Right, the hint that I have to use my quadratic equation formula straight away is solved 2 decimal places. So right away I write down my formula. So x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. this formula can be. Okay, so remember here that my A is equal to, my B is equal to, C is equal to. I find my A by saying what is in front of my x squared. I have 8. My B, I have, there's an imaginary 1 here, so I have minus 1, and my C is minus 5. So I now have minus B, so minus 1, plus or minus the square root of minus 1 to be squared minus 4, bracket my A I'm subbing in, which is 8, bracket my C I'm subbing in, which is minus 5, all over my 2, bracket my A, which is 8. And I need to work this out, okay? So I have x is equal to minus by minus will give me plus, so that's 1, plus or minus the square root, minus 1 to be squared, times 8 times minus 5, which gives me 160. So plus 160, all over 2 times 8, which gives me 16. So I now have 1 plus or minus 1 plus 160 is the square root of 161 all over 16. I need to do my plus or minus, so I have 1 plus the square root of 161 all over 16 and 1 minus the square root 161 all over 16. So I have x is equal to, I need to put that into the calculator, so 1 plus the square root of 161 divided by 16, and it asked me to do 2 decimal places, so I have x is equal to 0.8555, so x is equal to 0.86, and I need to do this one over here, so I have 1 minus the square root of 161 divided by 16, and I'll get x is equal to minus 0.7305, and the 2 decimal places, x is equal to minus 0.73. The last example I'm going to go through is solve the equation 2x squared plus 8x plus 3 is equal to 2, leaving your answer in third form. Third form, that's your hint straight away that you need to use your quadratic formula. So I have here 2x squared plus 8x plus 3 is equal to 2. Well, first of all, it is not actually in the correct format, so I need to put it in the correct format. So I'll have 2x squared plus 8x plus 3, and I'm now going to bring over this 2, and it will become minus 2 is equal to 0. So my sum then is 2x squared plus 8x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now I have it in the form, so I have my x squared, my x, my constant. I can go off now and write down my formula. So my quadratic formula is x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so my a is the term or coefficient in front of my x squared. So I have 2, my b is my coefficient in front of my x, which is 8, and my c is my coefficient in my constant, which is 1. So subbing into my formula, I will now have x is equal to minus, so b is 8, plus or minus the square root of bracket 8 to be squared minus 4, bracket my 2, bracket my c, all over my 2, bracket my 2. And I now need to work that out. So I now have minus 8 plus or minus this. So I have minus 8 plus or minus the square root. 8 to be squared is 64. Minus 4, bracket 2 is minus 8. So minus 8 all over 2 bracket 2, which gives me 4. So I now have minus 8 plus or minus the square root of 56 all over 4. I was asked to use this sum in third form, so I'm going to do x is equal to minus 8 plus the square root 56 over 4, and I have x is equal to minus 8 minus root 56 all over 4. And I now need to put that into my calculator. And when I put this into my calculator, I get minus 4 plus root 14 over 2. So that's x is equal, that's one of my values. And when I put this into my calculator, I get minus 4 minus root 14 over 2. And that's my final answer.